we've talked a couple times, and I think John is well on the record being very much against this, about companies throttling functionality, software locking features, having paid services that are ad supported versus paid services that are not ad supported. Recently, Apple had to pay a fine because they were determined to have been doing this. So we're going to talk about that on today's Not So Critical update. I had to look down at where all my buttons are, because you may have noticed we don't have Peter with us today. So I had to move everything around to set up the scenes for 2 people instead of 3 people.
Peter, this guy, can you believe it? Not showing up.
I know. I think it's either like oversleep or what. I don't know what his story is.
No, that's only me who does that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. He said he can't record today or yesterday and today. So it's like, all right, well, whatever. Maybe we should have recorded tomorrow. Well, too late now.
But then we would have a Monday show. Monday releases are very important to me.
Monday releases are the big hits. Yeah.
Try to make sure we do it every day. So we are continuing our recent habit of live streaming the recording of the session. So we've been doing this on Sunday evenings around 3:30 Eastern-ish time, which has been working out pretty well. So if anybody wants to come join us live, you're certainly welcome to do that. If not, you could come and join us on our Discord server. We've actually been having some really interesting conversations in the Discord server recently. John, we have a Discord server for the show. Not sure if you're aware.
No. I mean,
I
did just write a message in general. So like, I'm pretty in there.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was advertising the live stream.
Okay.
Like, subscribe, and join us in Discord if you want to not talk to me. Anyway.
But a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the show comes from the Discord server and conversations that we have there. This one was shared in our server, but Apple is going to have to pay out a good bit of money because it was determined that they're actually slowing down older iPhones. This is from a BBC article. Tom Gherkin at BBC. They're paying $500 million, which is not nothing. Because they were found to have been artificially slowing down older iPhones to encourage people to upgrade.
It's crazy that this is in the news again.
Yeah.
Because this was in the news a few years ago that they were doing this. And
it was the battery thing before, right?
Yeah, it was like they were making their batteries worse intentionally.
Yeah.
So let's see, Apple yearly revenue, right? Like, let's see what we're working with here. So for 2023, Apple reported a $383 billion revenue.
Yeah.
Right. So we are talking about less than 0.6%.
Yeah.
Is in yearly revenue, and like in profits, like who knows? Let's see how much they made. $169 billion in profits in 2023. So again, less than 1%, actually. Closer to half.
For these fines, sure.
For these fines. And like, that's just the cost of doing business, right? Like, if Apple makes my God, if Apple makes $170 billion in profit just to keep, of course they're going to slow down their old fucking devices. Because what the government is, or what basically what the government is saying is, hey, like, it's not okay, but it's not that big of a deal if you do it. Like, this is just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
So Apple gets to keep the rest of the money.
How much money in new phone sales did they make from doing this?
Exactly.
More than 500 million, for sure.
More than 500 million, for sure. 500 million was probably a day of sales for them. Oh, that company. And we're not. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to change the topic a little bit. So finish your point, and then I'll come back to it.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, this isn't unique to Apple, right? Like, we've seen this with so many companies. And every time I get real pissed, but at the same time I feel like I'm very like helpless. You know, like I'm
Yeah,
like, what can you do?
nothing.
Awareness doesn't even bring them it doesn't even bring any justice, because like they get, yeah, okay, they got fined $500 million, but it's not like they're gonna fix the patch, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not like they're gonna fix those old phones. No, that's just again the cost of doing business, and man, that shit pisses me off.
One of the things that we've talked about a couple times is the idea of kind of like software locking features just to be able to charge more. But I did want to ask about this. So they're performance throttling older devices to encourage people to upgrade, which implies that using the older devices should be fine, short of this throttling, right?
Don't get me started. Do not.
Why is that?
Don't
like if I had a Pixel
right?
4
Oh my
that I was
God,
perfectly happy with and did
can't with
everything
you.
I needed it to be able to do,
I'm gonna call up Google, tell them to throttle that piece of shit
it's
too.
not being throttled. Why shouldn't I just keep using it? And then if that one breaks, order another one. And then 2 years later, when that one breaks, order another one, which
why wouldn't you?
Absolutely have.
let's talk about like innovation, right? Like, because I have the second, it used to be the newest, but they just came out with the 8. So I have
Mr.
the
Fancy
7,
Pants.
the Pixel, also a Google phone, right? And how does Google get you to go buy a new phone? They make it better than the last one, and better subjective, because for you it's actually worse, right? Because it's bigger, it's heavier, better screen, so you can't see because you're old. So like the way that they have to get you, right? Why did I upgrade from my old OnePlus 7, which was my favorite phone ever? Had a little pop-up camera. True edge-to-edge display. A pop-up camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this right here. See, I still have it on my desk. Do you turn on? No, it doesn't. It's dead. It has a little like a little.
Oh,
can you even see that right here?
interesting.
The
No, I didn't
camera
realize
pops
that.
up, and so you don't have a camera or a pinhole camera here. So it's edge to edge. This was peak innovation.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay,
that's
I
good
use
too
this
because
phone.
it's better for privacy, I think, also because then people can't
Exactly. You know, when the camera gets initiated, it happened to me on Firefox. I was on some website and the camera popped up.
What?
I was like, huh? So it's telling me like, hey, someone, without obviously. So anyway, I used that thing until it was beaten solid. Like I couldn't even have a full charge. It would, stop charging in the middle of the night. Like I just had to get a new phone. So I went with the Google Pixel because of the reliability, because of the new features. Wireless charging was a big deal for me. Be able to just throw it on something and charge it without having to plug it in. So like what I'm getting to is with these new phones, the way they get you is with better features, right? With innovation. They have to keep innovating. They can't just make it bigger. They can't just add a better screen, a better camera. They have to be new features that are like life-changing. And one of those features, for example, is something I don't think you use, which is contactless payment. Your complaint was that it doesn't work all the time. I would say mine works as much, if not more, than a card. Like, do you remember the hassle of swiping? Oh my God.
I actually just prefer to write personal checks everywhere I go.
I hate you. Yeah, that's insanity. Anyway, so
or sometimes cash or cashier's checks.
Cashier's checks. I mean, cash is still fine in America, but like you go to Europe, you'll quickly see that many shops are going to stop accepting cash. Like, because it's a robbery deterrent. If you advertise that you don't accept cash, you're never going to get robbed.
Yep.
So like the sacrifice of privacy, because it is a huge privacy compromise. Like, I think that contactless payment is way better. Back to the point though. So these phones, while they should still function like the Apple phone, I think it's fucked up that they are, because not everyone can just go buy a new phone, right? Like there's budgets, there's money, there's poverty in the world. Like you can't just go buy the newest phone. So if you have this iPhone that you've been using for 3 years and all of a sudden you update it and like performance like screeches to a halt, yeah, that's a huge problem.
Which, based on the story we did last week about the iOS hardware vulnerability, you absolutely should do.
Yeah, of course.
Upgrade your phones.
Like, and what is Apple saying, right? Like, so what is Apple now condoning? Because it's like, you just made me realize Apple is now saying like, hey, don't update. Don't do critical security updates because we'll fuck up your phone. So it's a double terrible situation where people are on vulnerable, known to be able to be compromised software from the risk, because of the risk of performance degradation, which is a classic thing. Upgrading causes worse performance, so people don't upgrade. This isn't like new. And now even more so because they've been caught doing it. So it's like, it's actually a really terrible situation. These phones should be supported for way longer than they are. Like, look at Windows 7, right? Like, perfect example of something that was supported for a decade. The phones should be on the same standard. And phones have taken away our fixability, like our right to repair. They've taken away our modularity, I guess is the word.
I like that.
You can't upgrade RAM on a phone, right? Like you can't swap the CPU or the main board. You're stuck with what you've got. And actually that reminds me of a company I was so hyped about called Block, I think is what it was, the Block phone. The idea was that they released they would you would be able to like upgrade the parts because it was all blocked. So it was like Legos. Your phone was basically made out of Legos.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to upgrade the CPU. They got bought out by Google, I'm pretty sure, and closed shop very quickly. Google did not like them.
There was something someone, I think maybe Iron Mastodon shared on our Discord server a while ago about a modular cell phone. I don't know if it was that one or a different one, but
it was the Pine phone.
Yeah,
which
stood out because phone. It was the only one.
Yeah, so yeah, it's actually crazy the duopoly that Android and Apple have. And this is exactly what happens when you don't have enough competition, right? Like Apple has no fucking problem doing this. Yep. What are people going to switch to Android? No, they're the most loyal Apple users on earth. That's never happening. Just like I'm not going to switch to iOS as much as I want to. I would love to switch to iOS, but that's not happening.
Yeah. So I did start experimenting with contactless payments. Thank you very much. Because the Pixel 4 does support NFC. Peter described it as life-changing, and I
literally is.
Definitely wouldn't go that far.
I really think it has to do with the age of your phone, because I remember when NFC was coming out and I was thinking the same way you are. I was like, this is shit. This is barely working. Half the time it doesn't register at all that there's an NFC reader in front of it. But with my phone, like it knows exactly what I want. Like,
yeah, the problem is when it's available, the phone actually works fine. But, and maybe it's because I live in a very rural area.
That's
not every place I go supports it. A lot of times, like I'll want to use it at like a gas pump, and not all the gas pump have readers. They have the chip cards for sure, but not all of them have the tap to pay. And even ones that have tap to pay, it's so I guess what I would say is, as far as tap to pay goes, it works as well as the actual credit card.
Mm-hmm.
No better, no worse. I don't get super excited about it because I'm almost never going to go into a store with my phone and just leave my wallet in the car. So any place I could tap to pay with my phone, I have my card and I could just do that.
So I was going to say, I was in Europe for 2 months and I probably left my wallet half the times I left my house, I left the wallet at home.
Yeah.
Not once did I run into oh fuck, I don't have my wallet. That would happen in America.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's not there yet. And you know what pushed Europe over the edge was COVID. Was they were way more like, let's limit exposure because credit cards are nasty as fuck.
Yeah.
And so are credit card readers. Let's limit exposure. And everyone went onto contactless.
Yeah.
It was like overnight it happened. And now it's like what Peter is describing is you basically don't take your cards out. You only use your phone for it. Yeah. So it is really that good, but I think America is just behind, which America has always been behind financial services. Like they're always last, which is insane. Like because it's such a money-making country.
Yeah. But like you said, the main thing for me is the form factor. The Pixel 4, there is not a single flagship phone with an less than 6-inch display. Unless I go to Apple. So if I want the same, 5.7-inch form factor in an Android, I'm out of luck. If I go to Apple, sure, they have very compact form factor phones, but then I've got to switch over to Apple, and that's not not happening. Everything, all my apps that I've paid for, everything that I use is Google.
Same. And like also just, go ahead.
The one feature that I do absolutely wish I had is wireless charging.
It is, while we were talking 10 minutes ago, I put my phone on the wireless charger because it's so nice to be able to just throw it on there and like, oh, it's charging. Yeah. It is such a convenient feature. Yeah. And it's one of many. There's a lot more now, like on these phones that you can do compared to 4 or 5 years ago. And that's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
I really think you should check out the Flip, but whatever.
Yeah, that's maybe just like a mental block to having a phone that folds in half. I did order. The problem with my Pixel 4a 5G, which again, bigger form factor. That's why I went back even from that to the 4 previous generation. The problem was the charging port basically caught fire. So I actually did order a charging port repair kit, and we'll have my first right to repair experience with an Android phone. So I will post back once we know how that goes.
Yeah, it's going to burn his house down.